Hi, I'm Matthew Wade. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Star Observer and I'm a Gaga enthusiast.
So am I. My name is Lisa and I am a producer at Joint.
And I'm Jake. I'm a writer and, oh my God, also a Gaga enthusiast.
Who would have thought?
I know.
So in case you haven't been able to tell yet, today we're here to talk about mostly Lady Gaga, but more broadly, I guess, diva worship in the queer community. I think a lot of members of the LGBTI community grow up idolizing celebrities, whether it's like a singer or an actor, and it tends to be pop queens, like pop divas that reign supreme among them all. And for us, it's been Lady Gaga. So I thought it'd be cool to chat a little about the influence that she's had or impact that she's had on our lives and why that might be, given that we're all part of the queer community. So to start off with, I just wanted to chat a bit about how we first came across the deity that is Lady Gaga. So yeah, Lisa, I mean, yeah, do you remember when you first heard Lady Gaga, when you first came across her?
Oh, I was somewhere in the western suburbs of Melbourne, living my life, and then I was smacked in the face with the presence of God. So it was, 2009, 2008, yep. And Just Dance, I think it was one of those instances where I might have even seen the video with the song.
Oh, it's the first time you saw it,
which was very rare in those days, because obviously now everyone drops songs and videos at the same time, but back then I think it just happened. It just sort of was on MTV or something one day, and I saw Just Dance and my life changed forever. I also thought that I was going to be a Colby O'Donnell stan after I saw that. I was preparing myself because no one had ever heard of him either, but no one's heard of him since.
Moment of silence for Colby O'Donnell. Even Akon, like where's Akon now? But anyway, sorry, Jake.
People in Africa?
Jake, when did you first find out about Lady Gaga?
Yeah, I think it would have been something to do with like MTV as well. Like, because that's what I used to do back then, was like actually watch TV.
Yeah.
But I remember it was like at my year 10 formal is when like they played like Just Dance, and like for some reason that was like such a fun night, even though I hated like high school, you know. But for some reason that song just really hit at that point, and I was like, oh my God, like this is like a thing, you know. And then it spiraled out of control. Mine
was far less romantic than both of those stories. I was working as a cook at KFC, and late one night I was like cleaning out the inside of a cooker, so like oil and grease. I was disgusting. But we would listen to the radio late at night, like love song dedications and stuff like that. But one night, Lady Gaga, that song came on, Just Dance, and I just remember thinking, what is this? It's so good, it's so fun. And for me, I guess up until that point, there hadn't really been, in those years beforehand, like a really major like pop artist that I immediately was drawn to. So to hear that, I was like, who is this? Like, I need to find out more. Was it similar for you guys? Like when you first heard it and you started to get into her, was it pretty instant that you were like, oh, I love this person, or was it gradual?
No, mine was 100% instant, because the thing is with Britney is that she was my Gaga before Gaga, but I was an actual child. So I was like 5, 6 years old. So I was experiencing her and I loved her and I was obsessed with her, but had no consciousness of it really. I was just sort of like doing what I liked. But yeah, with Gaga, it was like, oh my goodness, I understand music now, I understand everything. Like, yeah, it was just straight away, who is this queen? And, you know, just walking around doing these ones all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, it was fabulous.
What about her do you think it was that drew you to her at the start?
Pop music wasn't my like thing really growing up. Like I was like hard rock, like heavy metal, like then like obviously like emo stuff, like screamo, like all that kind of thing, you know. But what I always loved about like things like Alice Cooper, like all the theatrics was like what drew me to those kind of music. And then I think Gaga brought that same kind of thing, like even with like Bowie as well. Like it's like obviously her thing to draw that comparison, but like. Yeah, no, it was just her theatrics and her energy, and yeah, it was just beautiful. I loved it.
I was a theatrical queer kid, like plays and stuff like that, and so I guess similarly for me, like seeing her like just wear these outlandish outfits, and so it was more than just an amazing song or an amazing music video. It was just the performance of it all.
Yeah,
it was
totally.
Similarly for me, it was a whole package. It wasn't just one thing about her. We would have been in high school around the same time, right?
Yeah.
Was it something that you found that like everyone else in your school was also on board, or was it an idolization that you had to yourself?
She was widely appreciated among my friends. Mind you, they were very straight friends at the time.
So they didn't fully understand the
exactly.
gravitas.
Much like I didn't fully understand myself at the time either. But they liked her. But I remember this one friend that I had was she sort of out of nowhere turned into this warrior of like social justice at a very young age. And we're still on MySpace and MSN at this point. And she just was like, wish I could shut my Playboy mouth. Oh, what a disgusting lyric. And I turned around and I was like, you don't understand. We were in the woodwork room and I will never forget it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so basically, it was for me after that. At that point on, I was like, you know what, none of you deserve.
All my friends were quite like alternative, goth, whatever you want to call it. So like they didn't really get it. There was one boy who I used to make out with in high school, and like, yeah, he liked her too. Like, he came. What's that line? Like, purple teardrops I cry. Like, he came.
Yeah.
It was like he was in year 12, and they had like the muck-up day, and he came dressed as Gaga and had like purple teardrops like on his face, and I was like, oh my god, I feel accepted because you like him. Like, you know, very like. Yeah.
I love
That's nice. My school was like a country school, so like I think people probably liked the music that she was bringing out, but they didn't have like that deep appreciation. And I almost wonder if that plays a role in why a lot of maybe queer people got into her, because she was an outsider in a way. Even though like her music was popular, like she's still like, people might just generally like her music, but to actually really appreciate her as an artist, you have to have some level of like recognition in yourself. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
It's the performance and the theatrics that comes with it, because it's one thing to hear Gaga on the radio and be like, this is a great pop song, and it's another to witness just the performance throughout the videos and the awards shows and all that stuff. That was when people started going, oh no, I don't know how I feel about this paparazzi performance hanging from the ceiling at the VMAs and wearing the meat dress and like all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was one thing. I think people do really appreciate her sound, but as an all-encompassing performer, yeah, I'm still not sure. The jury's still out on whether the mainstream have actually fully embraced her.
Well, earlier on when you were younger, before pre-Gaga, I can't even imagine what that time was like.
Oh, don't even want to think about it. Yeah.
I blacked it out from memory. You mentioned obviously earlier Britney and like some of those other earlier artists that also were pop divas. Were you aware at that time when you're listening to them, I mean, you would have been probably pretty young, but that they had large like queer followings? Or was that something you just thought, oh no, they're just pun pop? Like, does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It was a weird one. Like, I always knew that Kylie was like for the gays,
and
like
Cher.
and Cher, but like I never really like understood that they were just for the gays. Like that's what it was. You know, it wasn't really anything like historically behind it or anything like that. You know, like
and with Britney and stuff, I think that because Kylie and Cher and all that we got from our parents, so we knew that they were queer-centric from our parents.
Yeah.
But with Britney and stuff, there wasn't that dialogue because there was a difference of generation. So I had no idea. I was just like, Britney's for me, bitch.
It's true though, like I loved pop music forever, but I guess even when I started to really love Lady Gaga, I didn't recognize why I loved her so much, perhaps until a bit later. Like I knew obviously it was because she was theatrical and amazing, but I don't know if I necessarily understood the deeper meanings until a bit later on in high school when I started to discover myself in a way.
Totally.
And that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit as well. I mean, obviously we're talking about pop divas and I guess their impact on a lot of people in the queer community, because I think, you know, regardless of what community you're from, everyone looks up to someone, right? Like, you know, you have your heroes, whether it's in sport or music or film or television, but there's something about these kind of pop queens or pop divas that tend to really resonate amongst queer people. And for Lady Gaga, yeah, that was definitely the case for me. I mean, as I started to kind of realize that I was same-sex attracted and queer and felt very isolated, there was something about her being this misfit or outcast, like I mentioned earlier, that I resonated with. Were both of you aware that you were queer when you started to get into her? Or was that like was that after you'd already started to get into her?
Oh no, hello. Like, you know, I never even realized I was queer. I just was. Like, you know what I mean? It just sort of just happened. Like, you know. And but I think like other artists that I liked even before Gaga, as I was saying, like outside of pop.
Oh yeah.
Like you know, Burt McCracken from The Used and Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance had that gay relationship thing going on. Like Lady Sovereign, like rapper,
Lady Sovereign.
She's a lesbian too. Like so, like all these people that I liked, like
that makes so much
outside of like
sense to
that
me.
kind of, yes, totally. So all these and like you know, hard rock people, it's pretty gay. Like you can't look at Kiss and be like so straight. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't. Like so it's always sort of been there, and I feel like and that sort of helped out with that whole Gaga stan thing.
I discovered quite late in life who I was, but the path, the yellow brick road was just leading me to the wizard, you know what I mean? It's just been completely, my interests my whole life have been gay-centric or queer-centric stuff. And I was always just like, you know, I was one of the gays, like, without being one. Like, that was my whole experience. So I think that, like, yeah, Gaga could. I don't think she was instrumental in me finding myself in any way. But when I hear things about Lady Sovereign being a lesbian, I'm like, wow, I used to love Lady Sovereign.
I bought her album. I mean, I actually remember Lady Sovereign. Like, where did she go? Because she was great.
She's on Instagram right now, and she gets high in parks with stray animals.
So she's living her best life.
It's very fun. I very much enjoy it.